As the story begins, we see our guy running like his life depends on it, and honestly, it does. At first, it looks like he joined some kind of marathon, but the reality is different. A group of men are chasing him through the forest, and he has no clue why he is being hunted or what he did to deserve it. He has a decent face, sure, but he does not have that built physique you expect from a typical main character. What makes it even worse is that he is a second lieutenant. You would think someone with that rank would at least have a fit body, right? Instead, he is out here struggling to breathe, dragging himself forward like his body is about to quit on him at any second. And to make things even more unfair, he has a heart disease on top of everything else. By the time he reaches the edge of the forest, his body finally gives up. He starts coughing up blood, his vision shaking, and then a seizure hits him just from running. He turns back with tired, baggy eyes and sees his pursuers closing in, led by Lieutenant Indong. At the very edge of death, he somehow gathers the strength to ask the question that has been eating at him this whole time. Why are they doing this to him? Instead of answering like a normal human being, that bastard mocks him, calling him a rejecter and saying he should have died a long time ago. According to him, our guy only managed to survive 29 years just to get on her nerves. That her turns out to be Hona Mitsui, his stepmother. And yeah, she clearly does not like him. Before he can even process that, the Four Eyes lieutenant casually pulls out his sword and swings at him. It is not even a complicated attack, something he could dodge if he had even a little strength left. But our pathetic guy just stands there and takes the blade straight to the heart. He collapses instantly, and just like that, Lieutenant Indong completes his job. This clears the way for Mitsui's two children to become the sole heirs of the Paju estate. Now, this world was not always like this. It used to be just as normal and boring as ours, with no powers, no magic, nothing out of the ordinary. Then everything changed in 2026 when a solar eclipse hit. Mana suddenly descended onto Earth, and things went downhill real fast. 90% of humanity died and civilization completely collapsed. It almost feels like the creator of this story saw the future and decided to turn it into a plot. But the people who survived adapted to mana and slowly rebuilt society. Of course, that is where things start getting wild. Demonic beasts began appearing, and even plants mutated into dangerous, poisonous forms. Suddenly, the world was no longer boring. It turned into a full survival game, the kind Gen Z would probably call finally worth playing. A new kind of war began, and with it came a strict hierarchy based on mana. And at the very bottom of that hierarchy sits our guy. His father, Brigadier Wombang, is a top-tier awakened master, basically built different. Naturally, that makes the son look even worse in comparison, like the one rotten banana in an otherwise perfect bunch. Even though he is the eldest son, he cannot use mana properly. Instead, his body rejects it, slowly poisoning him from the inside. That is why he is labeled a mana rejector, and in this world, that is pretty much the same as being useless. However, sometimes luck turns into good luck for some pathetic protagonists. You can take Jin Woo as an example, and here we are about to witness another one. As he falls down the cliff, he ends up in some strange realm instead of dying in the forest. An old man also happens to be there, like this setup was waiting for him. This old man is the absolute poison demon Gun Ak, a master in handling poisons and hidden weapons. When the demonic cult swallowed the Central Plains, he melted its leader with a handful of poisonous water and became the absolute ruler of the martial world. So, why are we suddenly seeing his backstory right now? It is because the old man and our guy share the same soul. While the old man was training for ascension in his later years, his soul somehow became connected with our protagonist. So the moment they recognize each other, the old man's memories start flowing straight into his brain. The same thing happens to the old man as well. He sees everything our boy went through and realizes how brutal his life has been. Our guy was despised his entire life because of the label of being a rejecter. The old man understands this is their mental realm and allows him to use his experience and knowledge. He tells him to rise above everything and become the absolute ruler of his own world. Our boy then enters a power-activating phase as he is about to transform into something stronger. He opens his eyes back in his world and realizes he still has all the knowledge of the old man. This becomes the key that can turn him from zero into a hero. He starts moving his broken body with pure determination to become stronger. His goal is clear as he aims to become the absolute ruler through poison. To do that, he must master the Hunyuan Undying Poison Spirit art. So he crawls toward poisonous herbs and starts eating them, even though they taste worse than anything imaginable. He converts the poison into internal energy and begins forming a poison essence inside his body. His power allows him to store poison and break free from the fate of being a rejecter through physical reconstruction. His eyes grow cold with a new resolve as he commits to paying all of them back. And the first name on his list is that Four Eyes Lieutenant. The Four Eye Lieutenant forces his lackeys to search the dark forest for Tae-jun's dead body, but instead they find his corpse sitting upright and meditating like this man forgot he was supposed to be dead. The sight instantly throws them off because something about him feels wrong, and the energy pouring out of his body gives off pure cursed vibes. They stare in disbelief once they realize it is a mana reaction. Except it is not actually mana at all, because he is building internal energy through poison essence instead. That is what shocks them the most. It is not just that he is somehow still alive, but that a rejecter is showing signs of a magic reaction, even though rejectors are not supposed to absorb mana at all. Seeing that, the four-eyed guy immediately orders his men to kill him before something insane happens. One of them rushes in with a dagger, but our pretty boy smacks the attack away with a single punch and instantly feels internal energy flowing through his hand. That one move tells him everything he needs to know. He really is back, and before anything else, he plans to pay these clowns back first. Even then, Indong mocks him for getting cocky and refuses to believe he has truly awakened since there is no crest on his face. Awakeners are divided into ranks from master to user, and once they awaken, a rank crest is supposed to appear on their face. Meanwhile, four-eyed Indong is only a beginner, so he is really not that special in the first place. That is why our guy has the audacity to look him dead in the eye and ask for his last words. Then he pulls coins into his hands and charges up his body. Indong gets even more annoyed by the attitude, so all of his men rush forward together to make sure they finish him off for real this time. Strangely enough, our guy feels completely calm even though this is his first real battle. It must be because the memories of that rusty old man are still inside him, carrying the experience of a million years. Without wasting a second, he fires several coins at them. The shots tear straight through their heads, dig clean holes through their skulls, and pass right out the other side like it is the easiest thing in the world. But he is still not done. Using mirage steps, he dances around the four-eyed guy, closes the distance in an instant, and drives an insanely charged punch straight into his guts before launching him away like a volleyball. One man is still left standing, and somehow this idiot still has hope. He points a gun at him, but he moves as slow as an Indian cereal, so our hero drops him in less than a second. After that, he calmly walks up to Indong, who is still lying there in complete denial, unable to understand how a rejector could use skills at all. For the first time in centuries, our guy stands over someone else with pure confidence and asks him how it feels to be on the receiving end. The pathetic guy instantly breaks down, bursting into tears as he begs for his life like all that confidence just got deleted in real time. He even tries to save himself by shouting that he is backed by Lady Mitsui, thinking that name alone will scare him off. Our guy is not impressed though, not even a little. He grabs him by the neck and squeezes without hesitation, ending it right there and leaving his body behind as fresh bait for the wild wolves. As he stands there completely unfazed, he calmly says he has no intention of sitting back and taking anything anymore. At that moment, he looks unhinged, dangerous, and yeah, low-key way too cool for someone who just woke up from being dead. His hometown, Paeju, is part of the Samhan Empire, a nation formed after the Mana Cataclysm by merging the former territories of Korea, China, and Japan. Back in the capital, a man reports everything to Taeju's father, explaining that Taeju was discharged after an assassination attempt during a reconnaissance mission at the cliffs. He explains how Indong and his group attacked him there, but somehow Taeju survived and disappeared after being discharged. Meanwhile, Indong and his party were supposedly killed and eaten by monsters while trying to escape. The investigation reveals something even worse. The attack was not random. It was requested by officers of Japanese descent. The moment he hears that, his father's expression changes. He immediately understands who is behind it: Mitsui. She is the daughter of an influential Japanese family within the Samhan Empire and also the mother of Taeju's half-brothers. She has always wanted him gone so her own sons could inherit everything, but this time she lost patience and went as far as requesting help from her family in the Kyushu kingdom to have him assassinated. Even knowing all that, Taeju's father is no saint himself. Instead of reacting with anger, he coldly thinks that Taeju was going to die anyway, so she could have just waited a little longer. He understands the situation is serious, but Paeju is in a fragile position and still relies heavily on the support of his wife's family. Because of that, he decides to handle the situation quietly. To him, Mitsui may have crossed the line, but her children are still the future heirs of this land. So in his mind, it is better to overlook everything rather than create problems over someone he already considers a dying man. In a twisted way, he convinces himself that he will never see his son again. He does not even plan to search for him, thinking it is better to let Taeju live whatever time he has left in freedom before he eventually dies. Our boy is now on his journey to become the strongest man alive. He reaches the edge of a valley, and from there he finally gets his first full view of the city of Guri, and the sight instantly pulls him in. The entire place looks unreal, almost like something straight out of a fantasy postcard. It is his first time seeing something like this, and yeah, it hits different. Right then, an old man copying beard of Johnny Depp walks up to him and quickly figures out this is Taeju's first time seeing the city. And just like every geography professor who cannot read the room, he immediately starts yapping. He goes on to explain that 300 years ago, Guri was nothing more than a small town in the Republic of Korea, but everything changed after it got annexed into the Samhan Empire. The place was constantly overrun by demonic beasts, so the empire turned it into a base and declared it a free city. From there, they introduced all kinds of benefits, including tax exemptions on demonic beast byproducts and even permission for certain illegal activities. That is how Guri slowly turned into a massive hub, now producing over 20% of the empire's demonic beast byproducts. In other words, this place prints money if you know what you are doing. People can earn insane amounts here and become millionaires, basically going from zero to someone like Mr. Beast or Bill Gates if things go right. The potential is crazy. Unfortunately, our guy is not exactly built for lectures, so most of that information just flies right over his head, proving he is a baka protagonist with insane power that he might show us in the future. He still politely thanks the old man though, assuming he is just being helpful. A little while ago, after leaving his hometown, Taeju searched for a place where he could grow stronger without being tracked. That is when he found Guri. The Empire barely keeps control here, which makes it the perfect place to stay hidden. On top of that, the region is filled with venomous beasts and toxic herbs, making it an ideal training ground for someone like him. In a weird way, he even acknowledges that this opportunity exists because of his stepmother, since she pushed him to the brink of death, which led him to encounter the soul from another world. That moment changed everything. For now, he plans to work as a porter while secretly training and building his strength step by step. It is not flashy, but it gets the job done. At the moment, he is already part of a party working under them as a porter. The same old man points out a girl named Hanul, explaining that she is a swordswoman and a professional awakener. According to him, she is probably the strongest member of the team. And yeah, she is easily the hot-looking one among all the stinky dudes around. But our guy does not have a good taste and is not even focused on that. Instead, he notices something off about her. Her mana feels unstable, and that is the only thing that actually catches his attention. It turns out the girl is not just hot for no reason. She is actually burning up with a fever. The cause shows itself quickly when a 3-striped mosquito, a tiny menace with elite-level toxicity, bites her and sends her body into chaos. Out of nowhere, she collapses, and the entire party instantly goes on high alert, treating that mosquito like it is a final boss. Everyone starts moving carefully, making sure they do not get bitten next. At the same time, a red-haired baddie steps in without hesitation and launches a fireball so massive it looks like she is trying to delete the mosquito from existence. Meanwhile, our boy just stands there confused, wondering why everyone is overreacting to what looks like a random insect. Boar Man quickly explains that this is no ordinary mosquito. If it bites someone, their mana disappears temporarily, and entire parties have been wiped out because of a single one. So yeah, anyone who stays calm in that situation is either a genius or completely unhinged, and our guy is leaning heavily toward that second option. Right then, memories of the old man Gunok surface in his mind, and he recalls a poison that perfectly matches the symptoms he is seeing. To confirm it using his poison spirit art, he takes the opportunity to place his hand on her abdomen. Who would not take this opportunity to get a chance with a hottie? As he checks the flow of energy inside her body, he suddenly pauses for a second. Whether it is the situation or butterflies in his stomach, something definitely feels off. Meanwhile, one of the party members starts shaking because the venomous environment is getting to him. He urges the leader to retreat before things get worse. Just then, they hear rustling in the bushes, and everyone immediately gets ready for an attack. But instead of a monster, a small rabbit hops out, somehow scaring a group of grown fighters like they just saw a ghost. They relax a bit and decide to fall back. Unfortunately, that decision comes a little too late. Out of nowhere, ogres appear and swing their weapons without warning, instantly taking down several members before they even realize what is happening. It goes from calm to chaos in a split second. The red-haired baddie reacts immediately and steps forward, telling everyone else to retreat while she holds the ogres back. She clearly knows she is the only one who can buy them time. Meanwhile, our guy is still holding onto the unconscious girl, casually talking to the old man and telling him to get moving. He claims he will stay behind to help the red-haired girl, although his reasoning is a little suspicious. Before that, he carefully lifts the unconscious girl and places her onto the old man's shoulders, making sure they can escape safely. As they start moving, he notices something strange. The ogres are not acting randomly. They are moving in formation, almost like they are being controlled or following orders. The red-haired fighter goes all out, showing skills on the level of Mirialina Vermilion, launching a blazing fire lance that cleanly takes down several ogres at once. But even with that power, one of them manages to slip past her and head straight toward the porters. She reacts instantly and creates a massive wall of fire to block its path, confident that she has stopped it. For a moment, it seems like she succeeded, but then out of nowhere, another ogre appears behind her. She does not even notice it, and in that position, she has no way to counter what is coming next. Instead of showing how our boy jumps in and flexes his power, the scene suddenly shifts to old man Gunok. Turns out he has actually ascended to the immortal realm, the place every martial arts grandpa dreams about, all thanks to the soul-sharing experience he had with our guy. After gaining knowledge from Earth, he finally understands the path to immortality and makes it there. But now that he is living that dream, he low-key regrets it, because the so-called immortal realm is full of old geezers acting like kids, throwing hands for no reason and smashing each other's heads like it is some kind of playground. No discipline, no ethics, just pure chaos with unlimited lifespan. Even then, he decides to relax and try to see the bright side. While chilling, his thoughts drift toward Taeju. They share the same soul, but their lives shape them differently. Gamak became a master of martial arts, while Taeju grew up facing nothing but cruelty. Still, he hopes Taeju grows stronger quickly, and reaches the 7th star of the primordial formless poison spirit art. That is the level needed to surpass the master stored in Taeju's memories. He wants to meet him again someday, but before that, he plans to discover new techniques to teach him. Unfortunately, peace does not last long. Out of nowhere, another old man launches an attack straight at his head, mocking him for looking down on swordsmanship. The same Gunak who was just judging others a second ago immediately gets triggered and jumps into the chaos like the rest of them. So yeah, even he cannot escape the brain cell deficit of that realm. Now back to the real world. Just as the ogre is about to take down the red-haired baddie, our boy suddenly rushes in and knocks her aside with his arm, pulling her out of danger at the last second. Without wasting time, he uses his weapon technique and fires several coins. Each shot lands perfectly, piercing through the ogres and taking them down in a single hit. The fight ends almost instantly, and even he is a little surprised at how strong he has become. Deep down, he knows all of this comes from the old soul inside him. Even so, he does not plan to show off. Staying low-key matters more right now, so he keeps his composure and avoids drawing too much attention. Obviously, it looks insanely suspicious that a porter with no crest just wiped out all those monsters like it was nothing. So instead of standing there like a hero, our boy immediately switches gears and starts picking up all the coins he threw. It is honestly wild because he is sitting on stacks of money, yet he still cannot afford a proper weapon, so he is out here using pocket change as lethal ammunition. As he gathers them one by one, he suddenly notices that one coin is missing. His eyes trace the area, and he finds it embedded deep into a tree trunk. When he walks over to pull it out, something familiar starts buzzing nearby. That same three-striped mosquito shows up again, casually hovering around like it owns the place. Without even hesitating, he reaches out, grabs it mid-air, and just lets it bite his hand. It is the exact same mosquito that bit the burning hot girl earlier, so now he finally gets to observe its poison directly. As the venom spreads, he feels his internal energy scatter, breaking apart the flow inside his body. That is when it clicks. This effect is identical to the energy-scattering poison from the martial world. The difference is that in this world there is no known antidote, which for a normal person would be a problem. For him, it is a business opportunity. Using the old man's knowledge, he immediately starts thinking about recreating an antidote using herbs found in this world. The moment that idea forms, his expression turns borderline insane, like he just discovered a money glitch. And then he does something even crazier. He looks at the mosquito and decides the fastest way to analyze it is to taste it. No hesitation, no second thoughts. He just tosses it into his mouth and swallows it. Surprisingly, it works. From the taste and reaction alone, he confirms that the components match what he expected. That means creating an antidote is completely possible. The moment he realizes that, he can already smell money in the air. This is not just survival anymore, this is a straight path to getting rich. But before he can enjoy that thought any further, reality steps in again. A heavy presence starts approaching, and the ground itself feels different. When he looks ahead, he sees it. The boss of the ogres has arrived. And just like that, the real game begins. The beast boss suddenly speaks in human language and threatens to kill him, which immediately catches him off guard. Our dudes realizes this is not a normal monster. It is an awakened magical beast known as an elite, something he had only heard about before. At the same time, things stop making sense. Those mosquitoes were not supposed to exist here. The ogres were already out of place, and now an elite has appeared, making him question what is really going on in this mountain. The elite does not wait and swings its weapon, sending out a wide slash that tears through the area. Taiju barely manages to jump in time, because if he was even a second late, he would have been split into upper body and torso, meeting an end like Satoru Gojo. Now he clearly understands that this enemy is far stronger than anything he has faced before. Even so, he tries his luck and throws several coins using his single flash, but the elite has an electric shield surrounding its body. The coins are instantly destroyed, turning his hard-earned money into nothing. Burl badly need a weapon, otherwise he will reduce to zero, but he does not seem to worry in such economy. Otherwise, he is just burning through resources for no gain, although he still does not seem too worried about it. The elite lets out a growl, snapping him back to reality. He notices that he has been hesitating, and that alone irritates him. If the old man inside him saw this, it would be nothing but embarrassment. So he steadies himself, gathers his energy, and charges forward again with one clear thought. No matter what stands in his way, he will break through it. He activates his new skill, Iron Poison, and rushes in. Even the name sounds questionable, but the intent behind it is not. The elite swings its axe, and Taiju meets it head-on with a punch. The impact sends a shock through the surroundings, their clash echoing through the area. After that exchange, both of them remain standing. The elite's massive body shows no damage at all, while Taiju stares at it, already thinking about finishing this fight no matter what. Before anything else can happen, someone suddenly appears. A handsome man copy hairstyle of Aizen with overwhelming presence steps in, and cuts through the elite in an instant, slicing it into multiple pieces like Levi Ackerman taking down Beast Titan in that fight. The elite falls apart completely, reduced to pieces as if it never stood a chance. Taiju immediately feels the pressure in the air change. Someone at a master level has just arrived, and now he has to think about how to explain everything. The man looks at him and asks how he managed to take down a group of ogres without even having a crest on his face. Who exactly is he? Hearing that tone, Taiju instantly understands one thing. This man is not ordinary. Our boy chooses his words carefully. He thanks the man for saving his life and is just about to say more when the old man from his party shows up with some other NPCs. The old man goes straight to our little boy and asks if the luggage is fine, instead of worrying about his fellow, Taojo. Taojo tells him everything is safe thanks to the gentleman who saved him. The others who came with the old man quickly walk over to that man, call him Junghak, and apologize for arriving late. Then the old man explains to our guy that Guria is a free city, so it is managed by the Autonomous Committee instead of the Imperial family. He adds that Junghak is one of the 3 standing committee members with voting rights. On top of that, he is also the head of the Negodon Guild, the group in charge of security, and a master rank awakener. Since porters like them pay tribute to that guild for protection, the old man immediately makes our boy bow his head and thank Junghak properly for saving him. Taeju follows along and introduces himself as a porter who recently arrived in Gare. Handsome dude then asks if he was the one who took down the ogre horde. Our hero instantly denies it, saying there is no way a mere porter could do something like that. According to him, it was all the work of the magician who later passed out from mana exhaustion, and right after that, the orc elite suddenly appeared. The story sounds clean enough, and for now, it is the safest answer he can give. Just then, the other members of the Negodon Guild report that they have secured the survivors, and that the cleanup party has already departed. As they prepare to leave, Junghak gives our guy one last warning. He tells him not to cause trouble. If he sees him again for a bad reason, he will not be returning him in one piece. One after Junghak and his men leave, the old man immediately warns Taeju never to get on his bad side or run into him again. According to him, Junghak may be called the security captain, but he takes bribes from bad people and conveniently looks the other way. The old man says he only joins patrols to show off and maintain his reputation. Apparently the man is pretty skilled at backbiting too, because he keeps going without holding anything back. He explains that he was in a hurry and happened to run into Junghak, so he brought him along, otherwise he would have called someone else. Well, it's just a beginning. Our boy would have a crazy relation with the handsome boy. With that matter settled, they prepare to pack up the precious luggage and leave before another kind of trouble arrives, especially the kind that comes in the form of a monster or a master. Like a random Sunday when reality suddenly hits you with all your past failures, our handsome guy starts to crash out a little. The thought sinks in that if Juyuk had not shown up, he would have been dead right there. That realization hits harder than anything else. He starts questioning what he has even been doing all this time. Soon he comes to a clear conclusion. He had just been too cocky after escaping the fate of a rejecter, acting like he was untouchable just because he managed to beat an awakened once. Thinking about it now, he feels embarrassed, especially toward the old soul inside him. That confidence was not strength, it was carelessness. Right then, he makes a quiet vow to himself. Things will be different from now on, and he will become stronger for real this time. In a way, this moment was necessary. It cuts down his arrogance and brings him back to reality, forcing him to stand grounded instead of flying too high. Guri has solid infrastructure, but proper hospitals are almost non-existent. The danger level is too high, so real doctors avoid the place, leaving behind only quacks who already ran from trouble elsewhere. And they are not exactly reliable either. Because of that, pharmacies and drugstores have taken over. Pharmacists are allowed to prescribe and sell medicines approved by the Empire's Ministry of Food and Drug Safety or the Autonomous Committee, which makes them far more trustworthy than those cheap hospitals. That is exactly why our boy comes here. He plans to sell an antidote for the mutant 3-striped mosquito. He spends days working to earn money, gathers ingredients in his spare time, and trains his martial arts at night. Creating the antidote requires reaching the 3rd stage of the poison spirit art, and thanks to that process, he manages to reach that stage. Now he feels confident that he will not be easily beaten wherever he goes. He walks into a drugstore and announces that he has something to sell, so he wants to meet the owner. An old man steps forward, introduces himself as Bak Hongpyo, and tells him to speak. Our man explains that he has come to sell a medicine he formulated himself. But Hongpyo already looks tired of hearing similar claims from random sellers, so he shows no interest and tells him to try his luck at the labor market instead. While the old man keeps talking, our hero calmly drops one line that it is an antidote for the 3-striped mosquito. That single sentence makes Hongpyo turn around instantly. Our man then takes out a bottle and explains that it is taken orally and can also be used as a preventive measure. He adds that its effect lasts for up to 10 hours. Hearing that, Hongpyo loses his temper and calls it nonsense, saying that if Taeju wants to run a scam, he should at least make it believable. Even then, Taeju stays calm. He places 2 bottles of the antidote on the table and leaves his contact number. He tells them to test it and contact him if they are interested. They have until midnight tonight. After saying that, he turns around and leaves, while everyone inside the store remains stunned. Jutsu, built like a tank, picks up the antidote bottle and looks at Baek Hongpyo, asking if he actually believes what that young boy said. The old man gives him a tired, disappointed glare and hands the bottle over, saying they will find out once they test it. But he has no expectations at all, considering even the biggest pharmaceutical companies have failed to create an antidote for that mosquito. Still, Taeju's confidence keeps bothering him for some reason. While he is lost in thought, Jinsu casually drinks the antidote without thinking twice, which instantly irritates Hongpyo. Jinsu shrugs and says it tastes like plain water. He adds that if it were real, he would feel some kind of reaction, so that kid was probably just another scammer. With that, he moves on and prepares his gear for frog hunting. Meanwhile, the old man tosses the remaining bottle and Taeju's contact number into a basket, clearly not expecting much from it. The matter seems finished, at least for now. Out in the field, Jinsu heads out with his teammate for the hunt, where things quickly turn bad. A blade-toothed marten appears out of nowhere in an area where it should not even exist. Jinsu raises a shield to block its attacks while his teammate clears the rear and urges him to retreat immediately. She has already been poisoned by the mosquito venom and will soon be paralyzed if they do not move. Juju tells her they will fall back as soon as he deals with the beast in front of them. But before he can finish it, those nightmare mosquitoes start swarming around him, invading his space and pushing his heart rate up. If he gets poisoned too, the entire party is finished. At the same time, he feels his shield weakening. That alone makes him suspect that he may have already been poisoned. Everything starts piling up in his head and he questions where things went wrong. It's like the universe is crumbling and you have nowhere to go. They came prepared with bug-proof suits because this area is known for those mutant mosquitoes. Yet the blade-toothed marten showed up out of nowhere, as if it was placed there on purpose. The creature tore through their suits in an instant, and right after that, the mosquitoes attacked them in groups. It almost feels like both threats were working together. Jinsu and his team try to retreat, but the marten blocks their path, cutting off their escape and pushing them closer to death. Now it is just him holding those monsters back on his own. While he is already imagining his death, his teammate snaps him out of it and warns him about an incoming attack. The blade-toothed marten crashes through his shield and shatters it completely. Yet something feels strange, because he does not feel any loss of strength even after getting bitten by the mosquito. That is when it finally clicks. This is all because of that guy they brushed off as a scammer. He steadies himself and charges forward, testing his theory. Instead of collapsing, his body holds up, and that alone proves the antidote is real. Later that night, he storms back into the store, alive and breathing, and immediately asks the old man for the price. He declares that he wants to buy every single bottle available. Meanwhile, our handsome guy is walking through the Guri market, which is lively and overflowing with activity. Having grown up confined in Paju prison, this is his first time experiencing such a massive and vibrant place. He actually feels glad that he took a day off. To create those antidotes, he had to reach 3-star poison mastery, which required precise control over his internal energy to extract components from both medicinal and toxic herbs. But pushing himself to that level came at a cost. The strain from using the 3-star poison purification skill left him needing time to stabilize and recover. At the same time, Baek Hongpyo approaches him and proposes a deal to purchase the entire stock. He explains that this antidote could completely change how hunters deal with those monsters. Yui Guy stays calm and listens while aura farming. When asked about the total stock, he reveals that there are around 60,000 bottles ready, and he assures that production can increase immediately if needed. Hongpyo then presents a contract. It states that the antidote will be sold at 50,000 won per bottle, with a cost price of 10,000 won. And it also includes a clause where Hongpyo will handle approvals and patent-related matters. Tefleju reviews the terms and quickly calculates that 60,000 bottles would amount to 3 billion won. Hongpyo adds a 10% tax, bringing it down to around 2.7 billion. After going through everything, Tetoju makes a decision and agrees to supply the antidote exclusively for 1 year, setting the price at 35,000 won per bottle. Because he hears the old man runs an orphanage using pharmacy profits and is called the father of all orphans, Toju decides to help him. In return, he only asks for a space where he can make his antidote. The old man cannot hold back his happiness, and it just spreads all over his cutie face. After that, they shake hands and lock in the contract. Once Taeju receives the down payment, he heads into the market to buy equipment and take a break. He walks through the streets with his hair covering his eyes like some dark villain casually spying on the town. Out of nowhere, a bald guy with a puffed-up muscular body but chest like Sydney Sweeney appears and starts doing straight-up girly pop poses. Taeju instantly feels Yui just looking at him. But the guy invites him to check out his weapons. Taeju tries to slip away, but this dude switches to using his muscles, since the chest was not working, and drags him to his weapon shop like this is some forced romance arc. The moment Taeju steps inside, he gets completely baffled. The shop is stacked with top-tier weapons, way better than expected. So yeah, never judge a book by its cover. After realizing this guy actually knows his craft, Taeju places an order for 100 flying willow daggers. Baldy examines the request and explains he will need mana steel so the daggers can deal proper damage when thrown. He confirms he can make them, but materials are short, so it will take some time. Taeju is fine with that and asks about the cost. Since Baldy is clearly down bad, he calculates everything and says it will cost around 250 million, even after giving a handsome bonus. Toju almost sweats hearing that price for just 100 knives, but he keeps his cool like a pro and agrees to pay the full amount up front. With the weapon deal settled, he leaves and starts thinking about armor. If he wants to carry poison and throwing weapons sneakily like he is in some ANBU ops mission, maybe a custom long coat would work. He even imagines himself in a kimono, walking around and making people turn their heads. Somehow even a guy turns around and starts simping, which makes things awkward real fast. He immediately gets embarrassed and drops that idea. So he goes back to reality and looks for something more practical. As he walks, a girl dressed like a maid stops him and invites him to her boutique. She says they just released a new line of Demon Beast leather armor and are also showcasing coats today. Teleju finds this option reasonable, but real ones know that leather armor is not the only reason people walk into that place. Here comes the entry of our hottie waifu of our protagonist, and the scene opens with two women standing on the top floor of a double-decker while looking at a castle so beautiful it makes Taj Mahal feel small. The whole view hits different, and for a moment it feels like the city is flexing its wealth directly at them. Her shoddy assistant starts explaining everything with full confidence, saying no commoner is allowed to enter and only high-key people with heavy pockets get access, while even transportation is restricted to boats. Our waifu, Yanhui, who is a current military academy cadet, does not look impressed at all and instead stands there completely unfazed as if she has seen better. Instead of dreaming about getting invited there by some prince, she keeps a straight face and shows zero interest in the castle, which low-key kills the assistant's excitement. The assistant quickly changes the topic and asks if she really came all the way here just to buy a fox fur coat. Our waifu corrects her instantly and explains it is not just a fur, but the Siberian phantom fox fur, which is extremely rare and very difficult to hunt since only a few exist. She adds that armor made from that leather has excellent defense while staying cool in summer and warm in winter, making it both practical and luxurious at the same time. Her assistant praises her sharp selection and reminds her that her grandfather gave her a black card to spend freely, clearly expecting her to go all out. However, our waifu is the independent woman and calmly says she has enough money of her own, showing she is not relying on anyone. Shortly after, they arrive at the boutique to finally see the real item they came for, and the atmosphere inside already screams expensive. At the same time, our guy walks into the boutique looking for a coat made of demonic beast hide, and immediately notices those two checking out the exact same piece. Though so now it is clear they are all here for the same target, and the situation is about to get awkward real fast. The salesperson who was serving those ladies walks toward our boy to welcome him, and that is when the plot decides to cook. It turns out to be the red-haired baddie, and she recognizes him instantly while our protagonist just stands there with zero memory loading. This guy is actually that dense because even after looking straight at her bomb chest, he still cannot connect the dots. She reminds him that she was in his team when the orcs attacked, and only then does the situation start making sense in his head. She explains that she works at the boutique as her main job and joins subjugation missions as a part-timer, and she genuinely seems happy to run into him again. Meanwhile, our man starts sweating, and it is hard to tell whether it is pressure or because she is simply too hot to deal with calmly. Either way, he tries to sneak away because back then he gave her all the credit for taking down the orcs so he could stay low-key and gurry without drawing attention. He always knew the truth might come out one day, but he never expected it to hit him like this. Just when he turns around to leave, she grabs his hand and stops him on the spot, completely ruining his escape plan. Maybe we are going to have shoujo moment here. She looks at him seriously and asks if he was the one who saved her back then. She continues by saying the Negodan Guild asked if she was the one who defeated the orcs and collapsed from mana exhaustion, and she felt something was off at that time. So she went along with it and said yes, thinking there must be a reason behind his actions. Now she stands there waiting for his answer, and our boy realizes there is no clean way out of this situation anymore. He quickly throws out a flat lie, saying how could a mere porter possibly take down the orcs, but she cuts him off before he can keep the act going. She says she does not know why he helped her, but thanks to him she was able to recover the bodies of her leader and her boyfriend. Guys, she is already taken. Her body trembles so much she can barely stand, yet she still thanks him with her whole heart, and our Pookie suddenly has no idea how to respond to something this heavy. It is true that he saved people back then, but he also knows he had greedy thoughts about testing his techniques at the time. Because of that, he feels guilty being thanked so sincerely, as if he does not fully deserve the warmth she is giving him. After a moment, she slowly pulls herself together and realizes she is making her savior feel awkward. Right then, the shoddy assistant comes in already hot and mad, asking why she has been left waiting for so long. The red-haired baddie turns around, bends politely, and apologizes, saying she cannot sell the coat that you and Hui chose. The assistant immediately starts nagging her for bullying her master and refusing to sell it at the very last moment. The red-haired baddie explains that the coat was available until just a moment ago, and she promises to compensate for the loss with her own money. Surprisingly, Yuhonwi does not act like some rich, snobbish brat who thinks she is Sabrina Carpenter, and she calmly accepts the apology before turning around to leave behind the coat she clearly wanted. Meanwhile, her assistant is still burning with rage and looks nowhere near ready to let it go. Seeing that the red-haired baddie has ended up in a rough spot, our guy asks why she refused to sell the coat in the first place. In return, she asks whether people often tell him he is oblivious. Dudes, that is exactly what we have been trying to say for centuries. This man is dense and oblivious, but somehow this is his first time hearing it. Then she finally explains herself and says she wanted to repay her debt with that silver fox fur coat. Our protagonist immediately refuses and says he cannot accept it, because his intentions were not pure back then and he only happened to save her in the middle of everything. She shakes her head and tells him that intentions do not matter here because the truth is still the truth, and he saved her. She adds that if it really weighs on his mind, then he should just save more lives from now on. Our boy has never received this kind of gratitude before, only criticism, cold looks, and hateful side eyes from people around him. So even though the moment feels heavy and burdensome, something inside him also feels strangely tickled and glad at the same time. In the end, he accepts the coat with gratitude. We are shifted to the immortal world where an old soul named Dongbin has grown completely bored and starts analyzing his surroundings for entertainment. Everyone here looks the same with white robes and long white beards, and the only difference is their hairstyles, where one has a single strand hanging while another flexes 2 strands lifted. However, that old man Dang Gunak is built different, because his taste and fashion sense stand out in a realm full of copy-paste grandpas. He sometimes pulls up in full sugar daddy outfits and trims his hair as if he is about to go out and bag some immortal baddies. Dongbin gets curious and decides to visit Gunak, thinking maybe he can learn how to make clothes and pass time in a fun way. He even thinks it would be better if 2 people are crazy together instead of him being the only one losing his mind here. To make things interesting, he pulls out a heavenly peach from the immortal realm and plans to use it as a bargaining chip. He believes if he shows this to Gunak, the old man might finally teach him how to make clothes. It is just a peach on the surface, but knowing this realm, there is definitely something special about it. So let's see what happens next. Back in the original world, Taeju is locked deep inside the basement of the Baek orphanage, grinding away while making antidotes, like a man who has not seen sunlight in years. Then old man Baek Hongpyo calls, and Taeju tells him the undiluted solution is almost done, which makes the geezer sound relieved for about 2 seconds before he asks for another batch, and nearly sends our boy into cardiac arrest. Hold on now, another batch? Taeju already sent one yesterday, and these people are already back like addicts lining up for a limited sneaker drop. Hongpyo then breaks the good or honestly terrible news that word about the medicine's effectiveness has spread, so people are swarming in like their lives depend on it, which, to be fair, they kinda do. Everybody wants to grab this lottery-level item before it gets slapped with the sold-out tag again, and if somebody cuts the line, people are apparently ready to throw hands right there on the spot. Cunning Taeju quickly tells the old man to make an announcement, saying supply will stay steady and purchases are capped at 2 bottles per person. Our boy is not about to let these maniacs turn medicine shopping into the Hunger Games. Hongpyo gets what he is doing, but he also points out that fake copycat drugs might start showing up sooner than expected, since they keep using the sold-out sign like it is part of the brand. Taeju says they will just come up with another drug, sounding calm on the outside while knowing full well that is complete nonsense. Nobody is recreating this stuff unless they also have cheat code knowledge from another world. Then he asks Hongpyo when the packaging machines are coming in, because now the packaging takes longer than the actual manufacturing, and they still have another pile of bottles waiting to be filled. Our boy has not even gone back to his dorm for a whole week and is basically living in this basement like a paid actor in a prison documentary. Hongpyo promises he will hurry, while outside a bunch of kids are busy arguing about the ghost inside the orphanage base. One cute little girl is scared out of her mind and swears there is a ghost hiding in the room, while some boy full of teenage confidence says it is probably just a beggar squatting in their secret base, and declares he is going to kick him out. Thro really thinks this is his superhero origin moment. Then the door to the base suddenly opens, and out steps a shirtless figure reeking like doom itself with a creepy smile on his face. The kids instantly freeze, get chills down their spines, and bolt out of there with their souls halfway detached from their bodies. Sadly for them, the terrifying ghost is just our handsome guy who has been stuck in that basement for a whole week packaging bottles, and now smells exactly like someone who has lost a one-sided war against basic hygiene. On top of that, the weird mustached old man has already called him in to fill a porter spot on his team, so Taeju decides the bare minimum move here is to take a bath before showing up and traumatizing the whole squad. But right then, another hottie shows up, Hongpyo's daughter herself, and the 2 kids instantly hide behind her like they just found the only functional shield in the area. Turns out they did not call her down there to admire the scenery. They basically summoned her to throw hands with the so-called ghost. She asks if Taeju is the one working with her father Hong Kyu, and once he figures out who she is, she introduces herself as Baek Sa-yen from Baek Orphanage. The kids have been yapping non-stop about a ghost in the basement, so she came down to check for herself, and she also brought a box with her. That box contains the prototype weapons Taeju ordered from that weird Baldy's shop. Our boy thanks her with a soft smile, and that little move lands way harder than it should. Soyeon may act stern, but at the end of the day, she is still a girl with a girl's heart, so she instantly turns away while blushing like her system just overheated. Then, as she starts to leave, she tells him to wash up on the first floor before heading out. In other words, even she knows bro smells like a side quest gone wrong. The second she is gone, Taeju opens the box like a girl tearing into a long-awaited package. Sitting right on top is a note, and the moment he reads it, his soul takes psychic damage. It says, "Honey, it's a prototype. Try it out and let me know." Our boy can practically picture that bald menace blowing him a flying kiss, and the image is so cursed that he instantly shreds the note into pieces like it personally offended his bloodline. After purging that emotional terrorism, he finally checks the weapons themselves and finds them pretty solid, exactly the kind of quality he was hoping for. Since the knives turned out this well, he gets even more excited about the coat. That baddie planned to hand it over for free, but Taeju already decides he is going to pay her once he starts making real money. Bro may be broke, but he still has standards. Later, he heads to the mountains, where the team is already waiting for him. He apologizes for being late, but weird mustached old man immediately shuts that down and thanks him for showing up even though he got called in at the last second. Sadly, peace lasts for about 3 seconds before some muscle-brained clown starts running his mouth. This guy is disappointed that a mere porter dares to show up last and even has the audacity to act comfortable with the group. He demands an apology while acting like Taeju just committed a national crime. The loudmouth turns out to be Wonjun, a snobbish meathead with a face so dog-like he might actually start barking at any moment. Honestly, the resemblance is doing a little too much heavy lifting here. Thankfully, Taeju is not one of those mute pretty boys who just stands there and takes it. He fires back, saying he came at the appointed time. So why exactly should he apologize? That answer makes Wonjun even madder, to the point where he looks ready to pop a vein and explode on the spot. Too bad for him, Taeju has leveled up too, and he is fully prepared to rearrange a bone or two if this clown keeps testing him. At that point, our boy finally understands why everybody else avoids this dude. His temper is so bad it probably scares away mosquitoes. Too still, old man steps in and pulls the leash, asking Taeju to put up with Wonjun's nonsense for now. Forced to swallow the most bitter pill on earth, our guy grits his teeth and apologizes anyway. The team starts moving deeper into the mission, and Taeju quickly clocks the lineup. Only 7 people. 7. And these dudes really think they are about to clear a boss raid like this. Our boy does not even look scared, he just looks confused, like he just walked into a group project where nobody studied. Also, he straight up asks if they are actually going in with this number. He already knows raids have been shrinking lately because of the mosquito antidote carrying the whole meta, but this is still way too light. This is not confidence, this is borderline delusion. Of course, Wonjun immediately spins around like someone pressed his anger button again. He snaps at Taeju, asking if he has a death wish for speaking up. Our boy stays calm and says he is just concerned about the safety of the porters, and if things look risky, he is not going in. Simple. Logical. Too bad logic does not work on low IQ rage builds. Wonjun loses it even harder and drops the classic disrespect line, calling him a dead man walking who talks too much. Then he pulls out his sword like he is about to delete Taeju on the spot. Before things go full chaos, the team leader Dong-sok steps in with that same smug energy, like Wonjun but with a manager title. He stops his little attack dog and warns Taeju to watch his mouth, or he will end up as premium meat for magical beasts. Then he casually walks off with Wonjun, still throwing shade like it is part of his personality. At this point, Taeju is this close to crashing out. The killing intent leaking off him is so sharp it feels like a Jinwoo moment waiting to happen. Old man quickly apologizes for dragging him into this mess, but Taeju waves it off and asks again if they are seriously sticking with this squad size. Old man explains that their hunting ground is the Blade Martin area. Back then, they needed a full party because of the poisonous mosquitoes turning the place into a nightmare. But now, thanks to Taeju's antidote, they can run smaller teams. Even then, the old man admits he is still a little nervous, but since they have 2 beginner-class fighters, it should be manageable. That should is doing a lot of heavy lifting. He then hands Taeju a separate antidote he bought just for him. Taeju takes it with a smile, and for a moment, our boy feels different. Stronger, not just physically, but mentally. He realizes he is the reason this whole situation even changed, and that power has started changing him too. Ever since he met those guys, he has already shown killing intent twice, and that is not normal for him. That influence clearly comes from the absolute poison demon, Dangunak. That guy's nature leans toward eliminating anything he dislikes instead of letting things slide. And now that their souls are linked, that mindset is slowly bleeding into Taeju. Surprisingly, it is not even a bad thing. If anything, it is the reason he can finally stand his ground instead of folding. Then suddenly, he stops walking. Out of nowhere, he tells old man to stay close to him during the raid. Something feels off. For a while now, he has been sensing something deep in the forest, and it is not just danger, it is straight up killing intent. Heavy and focused, like something is already locked onto them. And one thing is clear, that aura does not belong to some basic Blade Martin those clowns are overconfident about. Nah, this is something else entirely. At this point, it is only a matter of time before reality hits them like a truck, and when it does, those overconfident clowns are about to get humbled in the worst way possible. Let's switch lanes to the Murim world, where things are already going left in the worst way possible. The Juji clan is on fire, literally, with flames spreading everywhere while chaos takes over like it owns the place. In the middle of all that madness, young Gunak is out here moving different, running a full rampage. And just to make it disrespectful, this man is casually moonwalking through the battlefield while cornering the clan leader Juji Chun. Yeah, the same Juji Chun known as the Thunder Demon. That title sounds scary until you realize he is currently getting pressed like a weak side character. The reason behind this whole massacre is simple. The Juji clan got exposed for selling their souls to the demon cult, but Chun is still out here in denial, claiming they were framed like anyone is buying that excuse. Meanwhile, Gunak is not even listening. Bro is already 10 steps ahead. With a flick of his hand, he lifts multiple knives into the air, each one floating like it is waiting for a command, all aimed straight at Chun. Then, just to seal the deal, he shows him his own son's corpse and casually drops the truth. He caught the kid red-handed, slaughtering innocent people to create blood gems, so he figured he might as well deliver him back to his father personally. That is not justice. That is emotional damage with a delivery service. Gunak then makes it clear he has zero tolerance for people who hide behind the weak just to save themselves. That kind of behavior disgusts him on a personal level. And the moment Chun realizes his entire secret is out, the Thunder Demon suddenly forgets how to be a demon and switches straight to begging mode. Caution, he pleads for forgiveness and even offers to spill everything about the heavenly demon, hoping that will save his life. But Gunak is not one of those villains who listens to speeches and spares people for plot reasons. He does not negotiate with trash. With that same calm expression, he launches every single knife using his full power, sending them flying straight into Chun and ending him on the spot. Just like that, the Thunder Demon gets sent straight to hell, with Gunak casually mentioning the heavenly demon can join him there soon. Brawl really said group booking. Back on Earth, Wonjun and his squad are already done clearing several Blade Martins like it was a warm-up round. Wonjun pulls out an energy crystal and immediately starts talking crazy, mocking Taeju for questioning them earlier. He basically asks if our boy got his answer now, acting like he just carried the whole raid. Taeju is doing everything in his power to stay calm, because crashing out right now would be way too satisfying for them. The only reason these guys even pulled this off is because of his antidote carrying their entire performance. Without it, they would be folded faster than cheap laundry. Instead of snapping, he suppresses his killing intent, mostly because he does not feel like dirtying his brand new blades on people this irrelevant. 2 non-awakeners and 3 mana accumulators managed to take down a group of Martins, and yeah, that sounds impressive until you remember they are basically running on his cheat item. Still, Taeju is not focused on what just happened, he is focused on what is coming next. Because deep down, he knows one thing for sure: if they think that was the real threat, then they are about to get a very rude awakening. Taeju leans toward the old man again and tells him to stay close because the real show is about to start. And right on cue, a red-furred wolf steps out. The moment Hompyo sees it, his soul almost clocks out early, but Taeju stays calm and hands him the bag like he is about to host a live demonstration. Taeju, he is not even worried about the wolf's raw strength. What bothers him is how these things move in pairs. And just as everyone locks in on the first wolf, the second one pops out like a jump scare and snatches one of the guys clean. Bro gets turned into a one-piece meal before anyone can even react. Yunjin swings his sword with those skinny arms and somehow the wolf reads him like a children's book and dodges perfectly. That is when panic finally hits, and he turns to the captain asking for orders. Unfortunately, the so-called leader is already gone, sprinting away with his tail tucked, leaving the whole squad, including his own girl, to get cooked. Seeing that, Wonjun pulls out his signature move, throw the porter as bait and run. Same cheap tactic, same trash mentality, and that right there is the final straw. Taeju steps in and pulls out his daggers and launches them with a flash so clean it feels illegal. One blade cuts through everything in its path, slicing the air, grazing both Wonjun and Dongsok's precious ears on the way, and then slamming into a rock behind them. That was not an attack, that was a warning shot with attitude. He starts talking, calm but deadly, calling out one for abandoning the team he is supposed to lead and the other for trying to feed the weakest to monsters, just to survive. Then he drops that same cold line, saying he hates trash who use the weak as shields to save themselves. At this point, he is not even hiding it anymore. He is starting to sound just like Gunak. The old man is barely breathing because one of the wolves is already dead and nobody even saw when it happened. Meanwhile, the second wolf growls, trying to flex some intimidation, but Taeju shuts that down instantly. He warns it that if it takes one more step, it is done. No hesitation, no second chances. Bro is already in a bad mood. Then he turns back to the team and asks if this is how they always operate when things get tight. Toss the weak aside and pray they survive. Wonjun, instead of feeling even a little shame, doubles down and says the weak are supposed to die for the awakeners. That line alone tells you everything about how this guy was raised. Too bad for him, Taeju is not weak anymore. So he jumps up onto the mountain, putting distance between them, and decides to flip the whole situation. He tells them to handle one wolf on their own, just so they can feel what it is like to be helpless for once. Our boy is basically sitting back, ready to watch the gameplay like it is a movie. One of the girls panics and begs Taeju to kill the wolf for them, offering to pay him anything he wants, but he shuts that down immediately. Another dagger flies out, landing as a threat more than an attack as he reminds them that he is just a porter and they are the fighters. They had all that confidence earlier. Now it is time to prove it or get folded trying. Wonjun does not drop the attitude for even a second. He charges forward, thinking he is about to end the wolf and prove a point, but the wolf moves faster than his ego can process. One clean swipe and his head is gone, rolling across the ground like it just unlocked a crossover with Aaron's tragic highlight reel. That confidence lasted exactly 1 second. Dongsok is still clutching his ear, furious and screaming threats at Taeju, promising he will kill him for that stunt. but while he is busy yapping, he forgets the real enemy is standing right in front of him. The wolf steps in, and just like that, his head gets separated from his body too. No speech, no drama, just instant deletion. Now only 2 girls are left. They never really showed hostility toward Taeju, but they also never stepped in or said anything when things were going wrong. Silence has a price. Taeju does not interfere, and the wolf handles them the same way it handled the others, clean and merciless. With everyone else gone, the wolf slowly turns toward the old man with the mustache, who is shaking so hard he can barely stand. That is when Taeju finally steps forward again. If the wolf had just walked away after taking out the trash, he would have let it live. But now it has gotten too confident. Charging in, he gathers power into his hand, a green swirling force that feels like it is about to rip the air apart, and slams it straight into the wolf. The impact explodes across the area, the force so massive it makes the beast resemble a fallen 9-tailed monster for a split second before everything gets wiped out in the blast. The old man stands there in shock. He never saw a crest on Taeju, so he assumed he was just a candidate, but this kind of power does not belong to a beginner. In that moment, everything clicks. That insane attack on the orcs earlier must have been Taeju too, and the guy clearly lied to hide his strength. After releasing all that pent-up anger, Taeju walks back toward him. The old man immediately drops down, begging for his life without even thinking twice. Our boy sighs and tells him to relax, saying he is not going to kill him, then casually asks if he is hurt anywhere. The old man shakes his head so fast it almost looks painful. Then Taeju makes one thing very clear. He asks for a favor, but the tone says it is not optional. Whatever he saw here stays buried. The old man understands instantly. No hesitation, he values his life way too much to mess that up. Taeju leaves the bodies behind, letting the forest take care of the rest. He did not strike them down directly, but he let them die, and he does not feel even a little guilty about it. People who throw the weak away to survive were never meant to make it out alive anyway. Meanwhile, at UJ Pharmacy, things are going downhill fast. A committee gathers to deal with the sudden drop in sales, and the owner of Nuri Drugstore is practically in tears. Their profits have been cut in half ever since Kim Taeju teamed up with VX Drug Shop and dropped that antidote into the market. Everyone is rushing to the VX store to grab Taeju's antidote, and while they are there, they end up buying everything else too. Meanwhile, the big players are sitting in a meeting looking stressed. The owner of New Horizon Drugstore is there, the guy who controls 70% of the market, while Chungwang holds the rest. Even with that kind of dominance, he is worried. Nobody can touch the VX store because of the autonomous committee protecting Hongpyo, all because he feeds a bunch of orphan kids. That small act of kindness just turned into a full defensive shield. The CEO of UJ Pharmacy, Hoon Sok, steps in and calms everyone down. He says he is in the same situation because his company also failed to recreate the antidote. The other big players admit the same thing. Nobody cracked the formula, and now they are all stuck watching their profits bleed. Since the committee is blocking them, Hoon Sik decides to play it the old way. That line alone gets Gil Ho, the fat owner, smiling, because he already knows where this is going. If they cannot win clean, they are about to get dirty. Hoon Sok pulls up Taeju's background on the screen, laying out everything. He is the eldest son of Brigadier General Kim Woon-bang from the Paeju territory. He served as an officer but got discharged. His father is a master, but Taeju himself is labeled a mana rejector. He only joined the military after getting kicked out of his own home. His biological mother is gone, and his stepmother Mitsui Honda comes from a Japanese lineage. On top of that, his 2 stepbrothers reportedly want him dead. The guy cut ties with his family and got thrown into the world with nothing. After laying it all out, Hoon Sok suggests they approach Taeju directly. If they offer him more than what Hongpyo is giving, they can snatch the distribution rights for themselves. Simple business move, but if he refuses, then they will handle it the way they always do. No need to explain that part. Everyone in that room already knows. While these businessmen are cooking up something shady, another player enters the game. At Jirasan, the commander of the Monster Defense Corps, Jin Hyung, is also making moves. He receives a report about Taeju, confirming he is a mana rejector and was discharged from the Siaraxan unit. The name already rings a bell for him because he remembers when the military tried to secure supplies before and got turned down due to low stock. Imperial restrictions made it impossible to interfere in the Guri region back then, so they had to let it go. But now things are different. Taeju, being the son of a brigadier general, opens up a new path. If they can secure his antidote, they could launch a large-scale purge before the Jirasan monster wave hits. That would change everything. Jin Hyung does not waste time. He immediately orders his men to contact the Paeju territory and set up a line with Brigadier General Kim. One way or another, Taeju is about to get pulled into a much bigger game. That man actually calls Taeju's father and fills him in on everything, laying out all the details without missing a single point. His stepmother reacts the same way as always, staying sour and throwing a comment that even a slowpoke can have some talent, then has the audacity to call him R. Taeju. She immediately decides to book tickets to Guri and meet him, thinking he is still a naive kid who will get scammed out there. But his father shuts that down and tells her to leave him alone, reminding her that they already removed him from the family and he is no longer their son. She keeps going. but he puts her in place and tells her that if she has any conscience left, she should stop this right now. So yeah, looks like there is still a tiny spark of fatherly conscience hiding somewhere in him, even if it showed up a little late. Mitsui freezes for a second after hearing that word and starts wondering if he somehow found out about the assassination attempt. But then she calms herself down, because the assassins she sent are already dead, so there is nothing to worry about now. Instead, she switches direction and starts pushing another agenda, telling him to call Taeju and convince him to supply the antidote to the military. She adds that if he agrees, it could help with his promotion evaluation, and questions how long her father will keep supporting the already struggling Paju estate. Hongju estate. His father stays calm the entire time and clearly refuses, saying he will not beg his own son for anything. He tells her that if she wants the antidote, she should talk to Taeju herself. That answer sets her off, and she storms out without saying anything further, clearly holding everything in but ready to explode somewhere else. After she leaves, he lets out a long breath and looks relieved, because deep down he had already accepted that Taeju was dead. Now that he knows he is alive and doing well, something inside him softens just a little. He does not show it openly, but yeah, there are still some warm sparks left in that man. Meanwhile, our guy visits the boutique again, where his custom coat is already prepared, and the result is clean. The moment he puts it on, he looks way too good, with a face card that could rival Klein Moretti. He checks the coat and notices it is not just about looks because it has high defense and temperature control abilities built into it. On top of that, it has multiple hidden storage spaces, perfect for carrying all his knives without anyone noticing. The red-haired baddie watches him and assumes he must be some kind of weapon-focused awakener, considering how many weapons he carries around. Our man just gives a fake smile and agrees, because explaining the truth would only create more problems. When it comes to payment, he asks her how much he owes, but she refuses to take anything. However, he insists that she already gave him something that was reserved by someone else, which could have caused trouble for her. But she reassures him that she handled it by talking to Young Hui and sending her another item instead. Leonard pauses for a moment, clearly not used to this kind of treatment, then points toward another item in the store and decides to buy it. He says it would make a good gift for the kids at the orphanage, and at the same time it will help her increase her sales. So in the end, he still finds a way to pay her back, just not in the way she expected. After our boy insists, she finally agrees to sell it to him, thinking he is a different kind of awakener in a good way compared to the trash she has dealt with before. As she walks away, Hunsuk, the CEO of UJ Pharmacy, suddenly barges into the shop and says he has been looking for Taeju. Seeing some unknown man act as if he knows everything about him instantly makes our guy cautious, and bro is low-key slightly terrified too. He asks what brought him here, and how exactly he even found his location. That man smugly says there is nothing his association does not know, which is already enough to make anyone's skin crawl. Then he finally opens his eyes, throws him a threatening glare, and without wasting time tells Taeju to supply the mosquito antidote to them as well. However, our protagonist shuts him down immediately, and refuses without even trying to soften the answer. Hunsuk keeps pressing him and offers a supply price 3 times higher than Bake's drug shop, but our man still refuses and says he does not want to become someone untrustworthy. Hunsuk then throws out his final offer and says he will buy the antidote formula itself for 5 billion won, probably thinking money solves everything. But our hero answers with a sour face and tells him he is not selling it for pennies. That ugly man finally loses his patience and gives him one last warning, saying he will not be able to live peacefully in Gure. Taeju stays calm and confident, says he will take care of himself and sends him away without giving him anything. Now ugly man's nerves are fully cooked and the mask finally slips off his face. After leaving, he gives his dogs the order to carry out their plan. At twilight, our Pookie returns to old man Hongpyo, carrying thousands of bags in his hands, which honestly proves he would be a gentleman for his girl and carry all her shopping bags too. When old man asks about it, our guy says he bought clothes for the kids as a token of thanks for always helping him. Old man gladly takes the bags and says he will never forget this favor, then promises he will do even better from now on. Our boy is also thankful to him for all the hard work he has put in, from buying the building to handling the construction. After that, our protagonist gets down to business and says he accepts the proposal old man mentioned before. Meeting the CEO of Yajae Pharmacy helped him make up his mind, so now he wants to establish a pharmaceutical company just as Hongpyo suggested. He says he hopes old man will continue helping him with it, because he cannot do all of this alone. Hongpyo humbly accepts the request, and just like that, the two of them take another big step forward. Now our guy leaves the final touches of the building to old man because he is about to be away for a while. Until the company is officially established, our hero plans to focus on developing new drugs. Chaos Boundless Poison Spirit Art is a secret poison martial art created by the strongest man in Murim, our old soul man Dang Gunak. It combines the 5 elements Qigong and consists of 10 stages, and after reaching the 10th stage, one must awaken the poison spirit through enlightenment. Those who awaken it can use the secret technique called Rain of Myriad Flowers, which is exactly what Dang Gunak used to melt the heavenly demon with his poison hand. So yeah, this is not just some random technique, this is top-tier deadly knowledge. But back in the original world, our man is out there throwing hands with a deadly beast, and the fight is not looking friendly at all. Our guy jumps in with full energy, lands on the beast and drives a power-charged knife into it, ending the fight in seconds. Right now, our protagonist is at the third stage of the poison art, and his level sits somewhere between a second-class and first-class warrior. Still embarrassing, but at least he is no longer getting folded instantly. The good thing is that Gunak's knowledge works as a guide for him, so his growth is not blind, he just needs to absorb unique poisons, which is exactly why our boy is training in the forest and farming poison from demonic beasts. After taking down the poison-clawed lynx, he checks its body and finds a huge poison sack, which for him is basically a bag full of gold coins. Our Pookie quickly takes his energy drink, stabilizes himself and retrieves his weapon. His next target is the spore poison elk, a deer-type demonic beast with 2 humps on its back, looking almost like a Bactrian camel. Even though it is gentle by nature, those humps are basically walking bombs for humans. When they burst, they release poisonous spores that can melt gas filters as if they are nothing, making them extremely dangerous. But visually, those spores fall in the air in a beautiful purple pattern, almost resembling snowfall. Your hero walks straight through it without hesitation, because for him this is not danger, this is food. He cannot let such valuable poison escape. He gathers the poison chi at one point, forming a compressed sphere, basically his own cheap version of Rasengan. Then he absorbs it into his body without wasting a second. After that, he uses poison spirit art to convert it into internal energy through meditation, and even though the process is not easy, he pushes through it. Since he already understands the components, creating an antidote for this poison will be smooth work for him later. Compared to Murum, Earth actually has more diverse types of poison, which gives him an even bigger advantage. Our guy makes one thing clear in his mind: he will never be weak again. With the massive amount of poison energy from the elk, he finally breaks through and reaches the 4th stage. That jump alone shows how fast his growth is starting to accelerate. Now it is time to head back, but something feels off. He has been away from Bike's drugstore longer than expected, and that uneasy feeling refuses to go away. He returns to the drugstore and greets Old Man Bike as if he just came back home after a long trip. Looking at all the empty boxes, our guy immediately understands that the business has not just been moving, it has been running. Old Man looks worried and says he tried calling him but could not reach him at all, which clearly had him stressed. Our boy casually says his phone was off because he was training and developing antidotes, and yeah, that is exactly the kind of person who disappears without a word. He then looks around and asks why everyone has those withering faces, as if they just came out of a horror movie. That is when Han Pew Pew finally drops the bad news and tells him the pharmaceutical sales agents refused to supply items anymore and even took back what they had already given. On top of that, the Drug Licensing Department of the Autonomy Committee contacted them and asked for a full list of ingredients for investigation due to alleged side effects from the antidote. Hearing that, our protagonist immediately suspects the closed-eyed CEO behind all of this. Old Man is not completely sure, but he admits this is exactly the kind of move CEO Hunsok usually makes, and the worst part is that he is also a member of the Autonomy Committee. If they refuse to submit the ingredient list, things could get even worse and lead to a complete sales ban. Our man listens quietly and realizes this is just the beginning of Hunsok playing dirty, which honestly is expected from someone like him. Before things get worse, our boy decides it is better to act first, instead of waiting to get cornered. Chilheni says that if they are going to make threats, then those threats should actually feel real. Then he tells Old Man that since they claim the antidote has side effects, they should simply stop selling it and close the shop for now. Yeah, he definitely has something cooking in his mind. On one side, the universe is out here plotting against our boy, and on the other, he is busy celebrating the brand new antidote he made from the spore elk. The second he takes that first bite, pure happiness hits him right in the soul, because this meat is famous for being the finest delicacy in the Empire. Since the poison cannot be removed, any elk carcass found by chance gets snatched up by the Emperor every single time. Nobody else even gets a shot. That is why Taiju finds his own decision hilarious. Out of all the medicines he could have made, he ended up choosing the one thing that doubles as royal gourmet loot. At first, his plan was simple. He just wanted to reduce civilian casualties from elk poison during the demonic beast wave. But the moment he tastes the result, his whole mindset starts drifting. This is not just medicine anymore. This is the kind of thing people would get addicted to instantly. Looking around at everyone's happy faces, he starts cooking up another idea. Maybe this is the perfect chance to start an elk meat business too. And if he manages to supply the Emperor, who is completely obsessed with this stuff, then he might also get a chance to observe the Emperor's Grandmaster level swordsmanship. Bro is already building a business plan and a training arc at the same time. While he is busy daydreaming, the old man clears his throat and thanks him for serving something this delicious. He says he never expected the new medicine to turn into the terrifying elk antidote, and once again Taiju proves he is built different. Every time people think they understand his ceiling, this man just adds another floor. Still, Hanpia cannot help asking if it is really fine to keep the pharmacy closed and sit around doing nothing. Taiju just tells him to trust the process and wait. The moment the antidote disappears from the market, they will see exactly who gets desperate first. Yui, as the days pass, heroes start gathering in front of Baek's drugstore. Jisun is there too, and by the 5th day he is already stunned that the place is still shut down. He only has a few bottles left, and once those are gone, he is basically cooked. Without the antidote, he is back to being useless in the field. Then he overhears some guy spreading a rumor that sounds suspiciously polished. Apparently someone collapsed because of the antidote's side effects. Because of that, the autonomous committee demanded the formula, and under all that pressure, Hompyo had no choice but to shut everything down. That story spreads through the crowd fast because bad news always travels like it has Wi-Fi. The people nearby start repeating it immediately, and Jisung gets restless. He already used the antidote himself and never had any side effects at all. So hearing this obvious nonsense gets under his skin fast. The math is not mathing, and bro knows it. The second he raises his arm to grab the guy running his mouth, another handsome man steps in and blocks him with a weapon. Of course the shady one has aura too. Villains always pull up with insane face cards and then act shocked when the fandom starts simping for war criminals. This man is Jung Hak, the captain of the vigilantes, and since he has always been tied to UEJ Pharmacy, he sides with the committee without hesitation. He declares that the shop will stay closed until the ingredient analysis is complete, because that is the standing committee's official decision. In other words, everybody should stop hanging around and go home. That only makes Jung Hak to summon snap harder, and he fires back that he personally took part in the clinical trials and is completely fine. Then he asks the question everybody there is thinking. How are they supposed to keep hunting now? Are they really expected to crawl back into those insect suits and pretend that is a solution? The moment he says that, the other heroes start yelling too. One voice turns into 10, then 10 turns into a mob. Jung Hak lets out an overwhelming aura and coldly asks when trash like them started talking back to him. He warns them one more time to disperse before he draws his sword. But Jusun stays put even though the pressure is clearly getting to him. The handsome captain has no patience left, so he pulls out his sword without hesitation. And just like that, Jusun's courage disappears, because he is not built like that, and he immediately backs off and runs with his tail between his legs. Jung Hak clicks his tongue, already fed up with dealing with people like this. He could not care less about whether medicines are sold or not, but Hun Sok playing games with the committee does not sit right with him, and he plans to deal with that soon. Speak of the devil, and Hun Sok is already there, sitting inside his car and watching the whole scene unfold. He calls the clerk and acts surprised that they managed to drag Master Jung Hak into doing this kind of work. The clerk calmly replies that as long as he and the chairman stand on the same side, they control the majority, so no one can oppose them. Normally Jung Hak would just say it is for his guri and stay out of it, as long as no boundaries are crossed. Hearing that, Hun Sok relaxes and reassures him about the generous reward he promised. Meanwhile, Taiju finally shows himself and stands in front of Commander Jin Hyung. He gets straight to the point and lays out his offer, saying he will supply 1 million bottles to the Jirasan Demonic Beast Defense Corps at 50,000 won per bottle, bringing the total to 50 billion. The moment the commander hears 50 billion, his expression sharpens, and the intense look he gives makes Taiju wonder if he accidentally offended him by sticking to the standard price. An officer leans in and quietly tells him the commander is just excited, even though he looks like he is about to turn into an upper moon demon. Without wasting a second, the commander orders half of the amount to be transferred immediately as a deposit. But just as things move forward, Taiju stops him and says there is one more item included in the deal. He explains that he plans to establish a company soon, so he has developed another product. Instead of pulling out medicine, he reveals pieces of meat that look insanely appetizing at first glance, saying he prepared this especially for the general commander. The commander looks slightly disappointed, since he expected a new medicine and mentions he has been avoiding meat for health reasons. Taiju casually suggests giving it to the emperor instead, since it is the meat of the poisonous elk and would definitely please him. An officer nearby is completely stunned and blurts out if this is that legendary meat whose juices burst out like a fountain and taste heavenly. Our boy simply nods like it is no big deal. The commander suddenly cuts in, saying he has been thinking Taiju is a rare kind of man and that the military needs people like him. Then he asks if he has ever considered enlisting. And honestly, that question is wild, because this man basically grew up in a military household, so of course he has thought about it. Why even ask at this point? The Shurasan Medical Corps is stationed on the outskirts, still within the Shaman Empire, and their job is to control the demonic beast waves while keeping their numbers in check. From the start, the commander hates being assigned here, and honestly, who would not feel the same? If he successfully blocks the wave, it only counts as breaking even, but if he fails, all the blame falls straight on him. Still, for the first time, an actual opportunity lands right in front of him. His adjutant walks in and reports that the down payment has been transferred, and all orders have been carried out. Just as the commander expected, Taeju's sudden deal with them comes from his conflict with the Pharmacy Association led by Jo Hun-sok. The adjutant adds that tomorrow's newspaper will publish an exclusive scoop covering the antidote contract and the poison spore deer hunt. Hearing that, the commander praises him for the solid work and tells him to keep a close watch on Taeju moving forward while helping him with anything he needs. He also takes a moment to thank his adjutant for sticking by a powerless commander like him all this time. That one line hits hard, and the adjutant tears up, thanking him for finally recognizing his efforts. The commander pulls him into a warm hug and says they need to make the most of this chance and climb all the way up to the imperial family. The adjutant, still a bit confused, nods and quietly takes his leave while the commander stays behind yelling, "Long live Taiju," like he just found his ticket to the top. Meanwhile, on the outskirts of Guri City, Kim Taeju has already built himself a full-on castle using his hard-earned money, which is honestly insane progress. Han Piao informs him that the company's setup is moving smoothly, and once he decides on a name, everything else will fall into place quickly. Taeju appreciates the effort and then reads the newspaper, realizing the contract with the military has gone through perfectly. Jun Hyung basically sets the stage for him without even being asked, leaking their deal with the military along with the new drug development as an exclusive story. With that move alone, the momentum completely shifts in Taiju's favor. He then asks the old man if the loan has been paid off using the down payment. The old man confirms that the 25 billion won has been deposited, and he handled everything right away. He adds that the bank acted so arrogantly that he cut off all ties with them and closed his accounts without hesitation. Taiju nods and tells him to use whatever funds remain to manage the orphanage. After thinking things through, he realizes he cannot run a company alone without someone reliable. So he offers the old man a position as his business partner, which completely shocks him. The old man says he has only ever run a small pharmacy, so he doubts he can be of much help. Taiju immediately shuts that down and explains that while he knows how to make the drugs, he has no idea how to sell them, which means he cannot run this business without him. After hearing that, the old man finally agrees, but suggests splitting the shares 9-1. Taiju refuses right away and sets it at 7-3 instead, saying the company would not even exist without his involvement in operations. Left with no real way to argue, the old man appreciates the offer but still refuses to take part in daily operations. Instead, he recommends someone far more capable for that role, someone he knows from the orphanage. Her name is Baek Soyeon. She is the smartest among the kids, and if Taiju agrees, he says he can call her immediately. For 20 years, the old man has taken care of children who later climb their way into powerful positions, and those connections are now his real strength. Because of that, he feels even more certain that making Han Pyo his business partner is the right move. He agrees to bring in Seon to manage operations, and the two of them officially join hands to begin their business partnership. Right then, our guy comes up with the company name. He takes the Tae from Taeju and the Ham from Han Pyo, then combines them into Taeham Bio. The old man is genuinely impressed and tells him the name sounds amazing. He also mentions that he has already called in some awakeners and adapters from their orphanage. Since that bastard Hunsok is the type to solve things with brute force, he brings them in to act as bodyguards for Taeju. But Taeju says he is fine and tells him to have them protect the orphanage instead. That answer leaves the old man wondering why he is acting this confident. There is no crest on his face, so he is clearly not an awakener. At best, he should be an adapter. So maybe all this confidence is coming from being raised in a military family. The old man has no idea he is standing next to a complete jackpot. He keeps staring at him so hard that Taeju notices and asks if he still does not trust him at this point. The old man quickly denies it and says that if he cannot trust him, then who else could he trust? Taeju then asks him to bring those kids from the orphanage so he can see what they are capable of while also testing his poison spore deer antidote. He says he plans to go on a little hunt with them, so in the end they all head up into the mountain, with our boy leading the way like he owns the place. The kids are immediately impressed when they see the fox leather coat he is wearing, which is worth 4 billion won. His equipment is absolutely insane, but there is still no crest on his face. If he has really been working as a porter, then that means he is either a civilian or an adapter. From this point onward, the area is dangerous. So one handsome guy named Baek Chang-eun steps forward and warns boss Kim Taeju that magical beasts will start appearing soon. Because of that, he says he will take the lead. His father strictly orders him to protect Taeju after all. Our boy gives him a side eye and corrects him, saying he should call him Hyung Naim. Ching-kwon awkwardly repeats it, calls him Hyung Nim, and then asks him to stay behind him. Wool. He explains that even though the coat has high defense, it will still restrict his movement in combat. Since he is an awakener, he believes he can handle the situation better. Ching-kwon just stares at him with a blank face, and that instantly makes Ching-kwon apologize in case his words offend him. Ching-kwon says he is used to it, and understands that the guy is only worried because he is an awakener. Still, he says they can talk about all that in more detail after dealing with what is coming first. Then, as he slips his hand into his coat and pulls it back out, Chang-hun suddenly notices a group of storm weasels rushing straight at them. Now it is time to see if he is really as strong as he claims. All the kids get ready to fight the beasts, but panic kicks in when the creatures don't even flinch at the attack, almost like they are impressed by Naruto Uzumaki's shadow clone level chaos. Meanwhile, they completely miss the fact that they have a walking cheat code standing right beside them. Taeju calmly pulls out nails from his coat and sends them flying, pouring down on the beasts like a black cascading waterfall. Chang-hun's jaw drops on the spot. These monsters always move in packs, and someone at user rank like him could not even scratch them before, yet now they all get wiped out by a single man. Even after pulling off that clean wipe, Taeju does not look happy at all. He did not even get the chance to draw his dagger, the one he usually uses and retrieves afterward. He avoids going all out since hurting those kids would have made things messy with Honkyo. Instead, he had to rely on his torrential pear blossom spikes and iron pellets, and now those are gone for good. Moments like this make him crave the 7th stage of the poison spirit art even more. Cheng Yaohen snaps him out of his thoughts and asks something that has been bugging him. He heard that masters can hide their face crests, so he wonders if Taiju might secretly be a master. Taiju shuts that down immediately, saying he is definitely not an awakener, and whatever he is, he will be taking the lead from here. Cheng Yaohen stays confused, but Taiju is already moving ahead like the conversation never happened. As they move deeper, they come across a poison spore deer just chilling, casually eating like it owns the place. It does not even bother reacting because it knows normal humans cannot touch it, thanks to those toxic spores. Unfortunately for it, our guy is basically its worst matchup. Taiju tells everyone to drink the antidote because they are taking that thing down. The group hesitates since the antidote is still in clinical trials, so trusting it right now feels like a gamble. But Changhan decides to put his faith in him. He drinks it and steps forward first, ready to engage. He tells the others to back him up with mana guns if the deer tries to run. The moment he gets close, the deer lets out a piercing screech that would normally freeze anyone in place. Changhan pushes through it anyway, and in one clean motion flashes past the deer and severs its head instantly. One of the girls suddenly shouts that it is about to explode, and right on cue the deer bursts, releasing a cloud of poisonous spores into the air. The whole scene turns almost ethereal as that toxic mist spreads everywhere. Taiju watches it unfold and actually looks relieved, since both Changhan and the antidote just exceeded his expectations. The rest of the group slowly realizes they are completely fine even under that poisonous rain, and the mood flips from panic to hype in seconds. The Taiju pulls their attention back and asks if they finally believe him now. He explains that this deer is all bark and no bite, and once its poison is neutralized, it is nothing more than a weak target. The blonde guy quickly apologizes for doubting him, while the girl casually says she trusted him from the start. With that settled, Taiju keeps the hunt going and starts teaching them how to properly butcher the deer. He makes it clear that once this antidote hits the market, this species is basically finished. The scene then shifts to the Marina Company, where Bak's daughter Sehyun is working as a manager in the strategic planning department. Her director, an old man with an awkward grin like he just got a fresh set of artificial teeth, walks up to her and starts asking questions. He brings up Bak's orphanage and mentions Hompyo being the director, which immediately puts her on edge. She cautiously confirms that Bake is her father, wondering why he is digging into her background. His same creepy grin stays on his face as he tells her to drop all the projects she is currently handling. Instead, he wants her to head down to Giri City and take care of a small task. The way he says it makes it obvious that there is nothing small about it, and whatever he is planning, it is definitely not clean. She looks at him confused and asks why he is suddenly bringing this up. He casually pulls out a newspaper and shows her the headline about Taihong Bio securing a military contract and developing a new antidote. That is when his real intentions come out. He tells her straight up that she needs to go to Guri and secure the manufacturing formula of that antidote. He reminds her that he serves the company's boss, and if she follows his lead, things could change in her favor too. Right then, her phone rings and it is her father. She asks for permission from the half-bald guy before picking up the call. They speak quietly for a moment and she ends it with a small smile. The bald guy immediately asks if she has made her decision. She says yes without hesitation, then throws her ID card right at him like she has been waiting for this moment. She announces that she is quitting this garbage company on the spot. She has already been annoyed by how he looks down on people despite being so short, but asking her to betray her own father is where she draws the line. As she walks away without looking back, the little man is left fuming, throwing a full tantrum and calling her crazy while practically stomping in place. Meanwhile, the other kids are at Taeju's new building, sorting everything out. After a long day of work, he thanks them for their effort and tells them to head back since he will handle the rest. Changhan is still going on about security, but Taiju cuts him off and asks if he really thinks he still needs it. Instead, he tells him to go protect the orphanage kids and the boss. Changhan gets the message and tells everyone to prepare to leave. Deep down, Taiju believes the orphanage should be safe since anyone touching it would have to deal with the public's outrage. But at the same time, he knows there are crazy people out there who would go that far. That is exactly why he needs people like these orphanage kids around. Now that the company is starting to take shape and they are bringing in people to prepare the antidote ingredients, things are moving forward. He only wanted to live a simple life and make some money, but somehow everything keeps twisting into something much bigger than he expected. There is nothing wrong with earning good money, especially since it got him this place. After a long day of work, he comes back to his spacious apartment and drops onto his comfortable bed. Except this time, there is no girl by his side. He lies there for a moment, thinking about how he was supposed to be dead as a mana rejector. Instead, he is here, alive and stronger than ever, all because his stepmother pushed him to his death only for him to come back with this insane power. But power like that never comes alone. It always drags trouble with it. Outside his building, a group of Giri's villains is already waiting. They are here on Hunsok's orders, and that guy just refuses to let things go. One of them, a dude with piercings, is already annoyed, saying if it were not for Hunsok, he would have just kidnapped Taeju and taken the formula himself. But the group manages to sneak inside the building and quietly makes their way up. Standing right in front of Taeju's room, they finalize their plan. They are going to inject him with a drug, knock him out, and carry him out like it is just another job. Simple, clean, and completely stupid. Because they picked the wrong target. The moment the sturdy guy steps forward and tries to inject him, Taeju calmly gets up and grabs his arm mid-motion. The boss orders him to move, but the guy cannot even budge. It is like his arm just stopped belonging to him. Then, in the blink of an eye, Taeju vanishes from his sight, snatches the syringe, and reappears right behind him, now standing in the middle of the entire group. Dar starts getting restless, watching him casually hold the drug while talking like nothing is wrong. But what happens next completely throws him off. Taeju hates injections, so instead of using it normally, he just pops the cap and drinks it straight. Knew it. He literally eats the drug. And just like that, the effect kicking in instantly as if it only makes him stronger, instead of slowing him down. Rumors start spreading that a gang in Giri's slums is dealing drugs that even the autonomous committee cannot shut down, which means someone higher up is clearly backing them. Now that same drug is sitting right in front of Taeju, and for a 4-star poison master like him, handling it is nothing. On top of that, he starts extracting the poison straight from the bodies of the gang members, and one by one they collapse the moment it is pulled out. Now only the boss is left. Taeju looks straight at him and asks who is behind all of this. The guy is clearly terrified, but even then he refuses to say the mastermind's name. So Taeju does not waste time. He pulls the poison out of his body too, leaving him completely motionless like a puppet with its strings cut. The next morning, Jung-hak is seen in his car with his assistant. They have already received information from Taeju that a drug gang broke into his building and tried to kidnap him. The assistant reports that they have identified the mastermind as the closed-eye guy and even secured evidence. Now the vigilante group has the perfect chance to detain him and prove their credibility. Yugi just looks disappointed. In his eyes, if the closed-eye guy was going to make a move like this, he should have at least succeeded. He does not see Taeju as a real threat yet since he is still a newcomer, but Hampyo is a different story, someone too respected to ignore. The fastest move right now would be to detain the closed-eye guy and force him into a settlement, but knowing him, that sly bastard is not going to fold easily. They finally arrive at Taeju's place, where the captured guys are tied up. Instead of staying quiet, those idiots are already losing it, acting wild because they are not getting their fix. Straight-up drug addicts losing control. Hampyo steps forward to greet the handsome man, but he walks right past him like he is invisible. Without even stopping, he pulls out his sword and moves to behead the gang boss, calmly declaring that by the authority granted to him by His Majesty, he will carry out the execution. Nobody even knows who gave him that kind of order, but he clearly is not here to talk. Right before the blade can fall, Taeju steps in and throws a hidden weapon that blocks the strike mid-motion. The clash stops everything cold. Taeju then pulls out a video as proper evidence, clearly showing that the closed-eye guy is the real mastermind. He questions why he is trying to kill the boss when the truth is already exposed. At that moment, he realizes something important. Jung-hak already knows everything. Jung-hak's expression hardens, and he looks straight at him, asking who he is. Taeju calmly introduces himself, mentioning that he is the same porter they met before and also the one who developed the antidote. As the tension rises, purple electric sparks begin leaking from Jung-hak's body, like he is about to transform at any second. He makes it clear that in Guri, his word is law. He gives Taeju one final offer: cut off the heads of these 4 and walk away like nothing happened. But Taeju does not even hesitate and refuses immediately. In the next second, Jung-hak dashes forward with his sword. Taeju reacts instantly, throwing out his hidden knives to counter. That is when Jung-hak connects the dots and realizes that Taeju is the one who captured all those drug addicts. He even admits that it is impressive. Taeju managed to leave a scratch on his hand, but interfering with a master twice is a crime punishable by death. Taeju does not back down. He fires off another wave of knives, but Jung-hak cuts through them without any trouble. The tension builds as both of them prepare for another clash, the fight about to explode into the next round. Just then, a helicopter roars overhead. Jin-hyung and his team drop in from above, shutting the entire fight down before it can go any further. Jung-hak gets pissed the moment he sees that bearded man, and immediately takes it as the military interfering in Giri's city affairs. The bearded man stays calm and says he is not here as a soldier but just as Jin-hyung, then turns toward our man and asks if he is hurt anywhere. Our guy simply denies it without making a scene and keeps his composure in front of all these big shots. Then those potato-looking guys jump in and ask who the mastermind behind all this is, clearly trying to move the situation forward. These 3 are all master-ranked officers from the military, and they make it clear they will not allow anything to happen to the man supplying them antidotes. They even say they will assign off-duty officers as his personal security detail, which basically upgrades our boy's safety to VIP status overnight. Jung-hak, standing at a distance, watches everything and starts connecting dots in his head. He wonders if they already knew each other through Taeju's father's connections, because this kind of backing does not come out of nowhere. 4 masters in one place, and on top of that military authority, this is not something you casually argue against. He realizes these are not people you can reason with, so no matter how much it annoys him, he has no choice but to step back for now. Still, he is not the type to swallow humiliation quietly and forget about it. He makes it clear to himself that he will return and repay this moment properly. Just as he is about to leave, the bearded man throws a taunt and asks if he is already leaving. Jung-hak responds coldly and says he is busy. unlike them who have time to interfere everywhere. The bearded man does not let that slide and fires back, saying if he was really that busy, he should have handled the trash causing trouble in Giri a long time ago. He even adds that if this is too much for his vigilante group, he can send backup troops to clean things up. The might hastens straight at his pride. Jungkook immediately rejects the offer and orders his men to take the captured people away and deal with them back at their base. But the bearded man steps in again and says those drug addicts are coming with him, because they dared to kidnap his close friend. Now Jungkook's anger spikes to the limit, and his veins are practically popping as he declares that this is a blatant violation of the imperial decree. The bearded man finally has enough and lets his red-colored power leak out, asking if he looks like a joke, just because both of them are masters. Then he pushes it further and asks what kind of punishment His Majesty would give if he simply beheaded the handsome man right here. That confidence hits hard, and for a moment even Jungkook looks shaken as sweat starts to form despite his composure. He tries to push back and show presence, but the other potato buddies step in and surround him, not even letting him lift a finger. The tension in the air becomes suffocating, and he quickly reads the situation before it turns ugly. So he gives the order to his men to get in the car, and just like that, he pulls back and leaves the scene. After he leaves, our guy and Hong Pyo thank Jin Young for arriving at the right time. It turns out Hong Pyo made the call when things got critical, and thanks to that, everything settled down cleanly, without losing control or letting those drug addicts slip away. Hearing that, the bearded man assures our protagonist that he will personally handle those people, and also track down whoever is behind the drug operation. He makes it clear they cannot risk any disruption to the antidote production, because the safety of the core depends on it. They need to finish this quickly so our man does not have to deal with Jungkook again. Meanwhile, our boy is lost in his own thoughts, replaying what just happened. He clearly remembers that Jungkook was hit by a 4-star poison dagger, yet he showed no signs of suffering until the very end. That thought lingers, and he starts wondering what would have happened if the bearded man had not stepped in. Would he have actually won that fight? That question alone pushes him to a clear conclusion. He needs to get stronger, because next time he cannot afford to rely on someone else to step in. As a military helicopter descends to take away the captured drug addicts, the scene looks like it is finally wrapping up. But just then, the story decides to take a turn. Jungkook returns in his car. At first it looks normal, but then something feels off. The scar on his hand starts to bother him, and slowly his veins begin to swell from that exact spot. The poison finally starts showing its effect. Those veins spread across his arm, then his body, crawling all the way up to his face. And with it comes unbearable pain, the kind that makes even someone like him struggle to stay composed. Yonghavia, the poison, was not playing around this whole time. Inside the helicopter, the boss of those drug addicts starts begging and says he will confess everything, thinking this is his last chance to save himself. The bearded man cuts him off calmly and says he already knows everything, then casually orders one of his potato fellows to take care of them. So our man just starts throwing them out of the helicopter one by one while they beg for their lives, and yeah, that problem gets handled real quick. Before wrapping it up, the bearded man also tells him to deal with Hunsok properly, and then orders the other 2 potato men to deploy troops at Taehong Bio. He clearly plans to use this whole situation as an opportunity to build a solid connection with our guy. Meanwhile, Sion is on her way when Chung-hun calls her and drops a bomb, saying Taeju went too far for the orphanage. He tells her that our boy donated billions and even created the antidote for the spore deer, which leaves her completely stunned. She can barely process it, and by the time she reaches the orphanage, her father welcomes her warmly, as if nothing insane just happened. She notices he is cooking something for everyone, and when she asks, he casually says it is spore poison water deer and they are having a feast. That line hits her again, and now she is fully shocked, because what Chung-hun said is actually real. He then takes her to Taeju, who is already there waiting, and the moment she sees him, the scene flips. Our guy is busy serving mouth-watering curry to the kids with a warm expression, and bro looks like he would be a perfect father someday, whether it is with Soyo or someone else. Old man introduces her properly, and our protagonist immediately recognizes her as the one he met before. She smiles brightly and admits she was rude to him back then, and now she says she is looking forward to working with him and will do her best to grow Taehong Budayo. Our hero, as expected, stays completely clueless when it comes to anything even slightly romantic. Right then, Major Minsu arrives with his men and salutes Taeju, informing him that they have been assigned as security for Taehong Bio. Our man thanks him for coming but still acts a bit stingy, saying space might be an issue. The Major calmly reassures him that they brought their own field camping gear so they will manage without causing any trouble. As they join hands, our boy casually invites them to have deer soup, and the timing could not be better. The Major immediately gives the command and his men start unpacking and getting ready to eat as if this is part of the mission briefing. Watching everyone move around, working together and filling the place with life, Tapju realizes he is not alone anymore. At the Autonomous Committee, Hunsok is finally captured and charged for all his crimes, and the fall is as ugly as expected. He admits everything with a stiff, constipated face and walks out without any dignity left. Still, he is furious on the inside because he could not contact the drug addict group that was supposed to cover his tracks. And on top of that, Taeju is still alive. With no immediate moves left, he decides to go off the grid for a while and wait until things cool down before making a comeback, or at least that is what he thinks. While driving alone through a dark and quiet road, something strange. He notices someone following him on a motorbike, and the presence does not feel random at all. The biker pulls up close, smashes through the window without warning, and injures him before he can even react. In that chaotic moment, Hunshok loses control of the car, and it swerves straight toward the edge of a lake. The impact throws everything off balance, and he is pushed out of the car into the water while the vehicle goes down its own path. The biker watches the whole scene calmly, making sure everything plays out as planned. After confirming it, he reports back to his mastermind that the mission is complete. Just like that, one more piece of evil gets removed from the board for good. Jonghyuk is taken to the hospital, and our handsome is writhing in pain as if his whole body is rebelling against him. His fellows rush in with a top-grade elixir, a golden sphere refined and flamed by Mirene Pharmaceutical, and Handsome forces it into his mouth, without wasting a second. A reaction starts inside his body, spreading warmth, that makes him feel a bit better for a moment. But then something far worse hits his chest, and the pain spikes so suddenly that his eyes turn red while blood spills out of his mouth, leaving him completely motionless. In that state, he can only curse Taeju with everything he has left. Well, Taeju, our boy really did something crazy this time, because affecting a master-ranked person like this is not normal at all. Meanwhile, with Sehyoyeon joining, the company is slowly taking shape and moving forward. But there is still one big issue, and that is the lack of variety in their drugs. That is exactly why our man heads to Jurisan Forest, planning to create a new antidote using the gallbladder of a giant moonbear. At the same time, he wants to gather more unique poisons to continue his training. It has not even been long since he reached stage 4, but the amount of spore poison he absorbed earlier was so massive that he is already close to breaking through stage 5. Our guy is basically speedrunning growth at this point. As he moves deeper into the forest, he notices a poison sap epidermis tree, which secretes venom from its bark to repel insects that try to eat it. Poison really does find a way to be useful everywhere. And yes, our Pookie actually takes a bite, because why not? Slowly turning himself into a walking poison factory. Then he spots a blue-bellied toad, whose poison is stored in the blue part of its belly and has anesthetic properties. Without hesitation, he picks it up and stores the whole thing in his bag, because bro is collecting creatures at this point. He keeps going, gathering more venomous beasts as if they are Pokemon. He even lets a centipede crawl over his hand and studies it calmly, finding some strange satisfaction in it, giving off full Orochimaru energy. Dudes, this man is actually enjoying poison at this point. While he is busy playing with his venom collection, the giant moonbear he came for finally shows up. It appears sooner than expected, almost as if it came to challenge him directly. Our hero tests it immediately by throwing his knives. The bear reacts instantly, blocks the attack, and lets out a roar so heavy it feels like the ground itself is shaking. Taiju uses Gale Step and appears behind the bear in an instant, then throws his knives without giving it time to react. The blades pierce into its back, but it barely reacts, and the bear straightens up like nothing happened, making the knives drop to the ground. Our guy keeps pushing and starts using his stronger moves, throwing out Blood Seal, Poison Palm, and Phantom Mirage steps to break through its defense. Every attempt fails, and that alone proves this beast is way too strong for someone at the 4th stage. That means one thing: he needs more power right now. Without wasting time, our man pulls out the toad he captured earlier and crushes it straight into his mouth while it is still alive. The poison spreads instantly, and he feels it surge through his body, pushing his limits to the edge. His energy spikes hard, and just like that, our boy breaks through to the 5th stage of the poison art. Now things are different. With his new power, he summons blood butterflies, a technique only available after reaching the 5th stage. These butterflies are completely under his control, and he can freely change their trajectory mid-air. He sends them straight toward the bear's eyes, and this time the attack lands perfectly. The butterflies tear through its weak point, and the beast finally collapses as the damage builds up and bleeds it out. With that, our protagonist completes 2 goals at once, gaining both power and the material he came for. He walks up to the fallen bear and carefully extracts its gallbladder, which is overflowing with poison chi. To avoid damaging it, he wraps it with his own chi and secures it properly. Now our boy heads back with his prize, ready to turn this into another powerful elixir. Let's see what this mad scientist cooks up next.